Hello everybody, welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I haven't done a Facebook Live in a while, and I'm really excited and happy to be here and to be doing one. So anyway, I hope that you all are doing well today. I hope that you've gotten a good start to your week. Let me know how you're doing. I'd love to hear. Let me know in the comments. And I'll just wait a moment to see. I know this was kind of like last minute. We sent out an email, so I'll just wait a moment, see who wants to come on and is going to say hi. You guys know, those of you that know me know I'm not that technologically advanced, and so sometimes I actually, you know what, I see that there are a whole bunch of you on, but I don't even know who's here. So if you're here, put it in the comments so that I can see. Hopefully I'll even be able to see the comments. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about how we've really gotten off track in terms of how we move through our businesses and in terms of how we move through our lives. We're going to be talking about the patriarchy, but it's even more than that. It's a topic that's honestly at the heart of everything. It's at the heart of what we're able to accomplish and not accomplish. It's at the heart of how we achieve our goals and then how we feel if we achieve our goals or if we don't achieve our goals. It's at the heart of how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about who we are and our lives. It's at the heart of how we speak to ourselves and what we expect of ourselves. This topic today is at the heart of our ability to have space and have freedom in our lives. It's about how we respond to and move through our businesses. It's at the heart of how we choose rates or choose programming, how we run our businesses, all of that. It's at the heart of how we choose to market or we don't choose to market, all of it. And this topic that we're going to be looking at today has a lot to do with our integrity too. So we're going to be going deep in a very short time today, and we're going to get straight to the point. This is really about ourselves, about our lives, about our work, about our businesses, about our clients. This is about our bodies as well, to be honest. What we're going to be looking at today is also about our ability to move through the world, and it's about our well-being. So let's start here. Let's just dive right in. And I'm just going to say it. The way that we've been taught to do business and life is in some ways making us sick. Most of the time, the ways that we've been taught is completely out of alignment, which is why it can feel so bad to so many of us. Under the patriarchal model, we're not taught to value timing. We're not taught to value cycles. We're not taught to value rhythms. We're not taught to truly value ourselves. Instead, we're taught to lead from a place of survival. We're taught to push. We're taught to force. We're taught to remain in a state of incongruence or fight or flight or dysregulation in our nervous systems. And whether we realize it or not, most of the time under the patriarchal structure, we're in a state of fear, right? And then we end up running our businesses from all of these places. And we end up moving through our lives from all of these places. And it doesn't work. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't lead us to where we really want to go. So I want to, for a few minutes first, look at some of the messages that were subtly and not so subtly being given just under the patriarchal structure. And these messages are things that seep into our consciousness every single day They've become part and parcel in a way of who we are, even if we know better, even if we can name and identify it, even if we've done some unpacking around the patriarchy, right? So this isn't going to be exhaustive, but I want to just name clearly some of the messages that we're operating under every single day, right? So number one, the myth of perfection, right? The patriarchy has taught us that we need to be perfect, we need to be shiny, everything needs to look exactly so, or else it's not good, or else it's not valuable, or else it's not worth paying attention to, or else we've failed. Another message that has slowly seeped into all of our beings because of patriarchal structures. And note, as I name each of these, note if you're operating under any of them, right? Really take note. So another message that's seeped into us is that we always need more, that the best thing is to have more and to accrue more and to buy more, and more and more and more and more. Now there are places for more in our lives for sure, but if we're operating under the belief that it's always a time to have more, we're gonna end up, number one, exhausted trying to get more all the time. We're going to end up, number two, judging ourselves harshly for not expanding and having more and having more. And number three, we're going to hurt the Earth's resources. It's not even a probably, it's the truth, right? Here's another related message that a lot of us operate under, straight from patriarchal structure. We're here to produce more, and we need to always be more than who we are, right? Now, it's awesome to have goals. It's awesome to create. It's awesome to want to continually evolve. But when we fall under this false belief that our job is just to produce more and produce more and produce more, it's not good for our nervous systems. It actually doesn't lead to the type of success that feels nourishing and satisfying. It leads us to make decisions in our businesses that don't feel good. It leads us to go beyond stretching ourselves, but really breaking ourselves in a lot of ways, right? And as I go through these messages, also take note if your clients are operating, if you're working with clients, are they operating under these messages, right? Because we want to be able to name them. We want to be able to look at these beliefs with our clients. Here's another message that's really popular under patriarchal structure. And again, even if we know better, we can fall into the spell of it so quickly and so easily. There's no time for rest. Right? It's just go, go, go all the time. Do. There's no value in the pause, in taking some time to not create more, but to just land where you are and rest and pause, right? And just be. When we make decisions in our businesses and in our lives from this false belief that there's no time for rest, that there's no value in pausing, we end up making decisions that don't really work very well for us. Yeah, and like Tanya's saying, stretching us beyond our nervous systems, right? We end up building businesses on false premises that don't work for us and that ultimately don't work for our clients. Another message that a lot of us can fall under in terms of patriarchal structure, even if we have unpacked it, even if we know better, is that there's no real place for grief, right? Goes along with there's no time for rest, there's no value in pausing, right? It's like, it's not okay to be sad. It's not okay to experience loss or pain. There's no room for that, right? And when we lead our businesses and our lives from that place, it's not going to work. Not to mention, if we approach with these ideas in terms of our client work, that's not going to work for our clients either. We're going to end up bypassing our clients. We're not going to end up really hearing them. Here are a couple of other messages that just have seeped into us because of patriarchal thinking, that you sometimes just, it's like that's our MO. We operate from it even without realizing it. Here's one. We always need full mastery in order to move forward, right? Like we need, back to the perfection thing, right? It's like our website needs to be perfect. Our marketing needs to be perfect. It all needs to be perfect, or else we can't put it out there because then it won't be valued, right? When we operate under this, we're first of all, we're not able to move forward. Second of all, we're being unduly harsh to ourselves. Here's another one. We're a failure if the goals weren't hit, right? This is a big one under patriarchal structure. We're a failure if we haven't hit our goals. Just take a moment and think about that one and how that one is probably impacting you and affecting you and how you feel about yourself and impacting your energy level to continue with your business and impacting your nervous system. I know even for me, like I'm here speaking about this, and this is one that I have to catch myself in all the time. Or how about this one? Learning should be quick and seamless, right? We should just be able to get it together like that. It's a lie, but it's one that we can fall under so easily. It's one that our clients can fall under so easily. And then they end up beating themselves up because they didn't get it together quick enough. And then, they may take themselves out of the game, or they may end up doing something self-sabotaging because of it, right? Learning should be quick and seamless. Achievement should be quick and seamless. These are lies, but they're lies that we operate under all the time if we don't check them, if we don't override them. I want to name just a couple of other messages that have seeped into us and have then, because of that, seeped into our business. The bottom line is more important than everything else. This is a big patriarchal message, right? Just think about how that might show up, where we put numbers over heart, over integrity, over authenticity, over doing the right thing, over giving ourselves space, over giving our clients space. Here's another false belief under the patriarchal structure. There's always somebody out there that's better than you are, that's farther ahead than you are, that's doing more than you are, and therefore that person is more valuable than you, right? I have definitely gone there before for myself. How is that showing up for you? Here's another one. Similar to the perfection thing, but I'll just put it in this way. Life and business should always look good, right? There shouldn't be fails. It shouldn't be messy. These standards that we've been trying to hold ourselves to lead us to either self-sabotage or to make misaligned decisions in our businesses and in our lives. Here's another one under patriarchal thinking that I want to spend a few moments on because this is a biggie. Patriarchal thinking has us believe that life is linear instead of cyclical. And this is not true, right? So let me explain what I mean by this. Linear thinking is the kind of thinking that says there's a start to any project, and then we build up and we get better and we get better and we get better, and then it ends, right? It just follows this straight line from beginning, gets better, and then it ends completely. And that's just absolutely not true about anything in life or any project in life. Our lives, our projects, whether they're work projects, have to do with our clients, our programs, our relationships, our health, any of it isn't linear. Life works in cycles. There are high points and then low points and then high points again and low points again. It's a patriarchal fairy tale to believe that the story ends as soon as the goal is achieved, or as soon as the goal, it's clear that it's a failure and it hasn't achieved, right? There's just so much more that comes after that, right? So a lot of stress and stuckness and misaligned action taking that we do in our businesses, that our clients do, a lot of the stress and stuckness and misaligned action taking that our clients do are the result of the perception that we live a linear life instead of a circular one or a cyclical one. I'm going to repeat that again. This is a really important point. A lot of stress and stuckness and misaligned action taking that we do in our businesses and in our lives is the result of the perception that our lives and our projects are linear instead of cyclical. So let me give you some examples of this. For example, linear thinking under the patriarchy would say that letting go of something, letting go of a program that's just not aligned for us, or a client that's just truly not right for us, or they've come to the end of the work together, letting go of a misaligned relationship, letting go of a marketing strategy that just isn't for us. Patriarchal and linear thinking would say that that's bad. Right? Because that means it's the end of the line. There's nothing else going on there, right? That linear thinking says that death, letting go, having less is the end of the story, right? It's like the final death. But in cyclical thinking, we understand that rebirth always comes after death. We understand that the next cycle is on its way. We understand that letting go is actually an essential part of living and moving forward. But see, that's not possible under linear thinking. Here's another example of how linear thinking can really mess us up. When we look at what other people are doing, which we often do, and it looks like they're ahead of us in one way or another, their business is ahead of us, they have more clients, they're, whatever it is, right? All the things that we look at. Well, in linear thinking, it just means that they're better, they're ahead, they're more valuable, and we just have to catch up. But in cyclical thinking, we know that, those people that are ahead, they're going to come to a death, right? The cycle is going to come back around, and we're going to come to a high, and, it keeps on going, right? So these are just some of the messages that we've been given from the patriarchy. We always need more. We need to be perfect. There's no time for rest. Achievement should be quick and seamless, all the things, the bottom line over everything else. So which ones for you have you fallen under the most? And I'd love to hear from some of you. We'll take a pause here for a moment. So which one of these beliefs, even if you know better, even if you've unpacked it, right? Because I know better, I've unpacked it, and I still have to be on top of it. I catch myself falling into some of these things all the time. Which are the biggies for you? Which are the beliefs that you fall under, that sometimes you're leading your business with those beliefs? And also, if you're working with clients, how is the patriarchal thinking making its way into your clients' lives? What are some of the messages that they're operating under, from ones that we've looked at so far today, or others that are patriarchal structure messages? It's important for us as practitioners to be able to really note this for our clients as well, right? Create awareness around it, use rewiring techniques, whatever it is around it. Now, here's the other thing that patriarchal structures do. And this is really damaging for ourselves and for our businesses. Patriarchal thinking separates us and disconnects us not only from ourselves, right? I mean, all the beliefs we've just looked at definitely disconnects us from ourselves, but patriarchal thinking also separates us and disconnects us from nature, from the natural world, right? And it does it because of all of the messages that I just shared, because of all of the linear thinking, because all of the obsession with media, you know, and we're so focused on technology and media and consuming information, we get disconnected from the natural world. Patriarchal structure has disconnected us from nature because it doesn't have reverence for the earth and the earth's resources. And because of the do, more, it actually doesn't allow us enough time to connect with nature. And when we're disconnected and separated from nature and the natural world, then necessarily we're also disconnected and separated from the wisdom of the natural world, from the flow that happens in the natural world, from that cyclical thinking, right? I call it sacred rhythms. We get disconnected from the sacred rhythms of the natural world because of the patriarchy. So the sacred rhythms are the 4 phases of any natural cycle. You know, if we take a look at cycles in nature, whether it's the wheel of the year, whether it's the wheel of the moon, right, over the course of a month, whether it's the wheel of a day over the course of a 24-hour day, even if we look at the breath, when we look at any of those cycles, we can pull out 4 phases of the cycle, right? So in the cycle of the year, there's spring, summer, autumn, winter. In the cycle of a day, there's early morning, high noon, afternoon, evening, and then late night. In the cycle of a month, there's the new moon, the waxing moon, the full moon, the waning moon, right? And even in the cycle of a breath, we initiate the breath, it grows, it reaches to the top, we exhale, right? So there are 4 phases of any cycle in nature, and they all roughly correspond to each other, the 4 phases, right? The spring is about planting, initiating, starting new things, birthing again, the newness of life, the excitement of starting new things, that burst of energy, right? The summer or high noon, or the full moon is about growing, is about the sun shining, and, that's when things grow. The autumn, which is kind of like late afternoon, or the waning moon, that's about harvesting. That's about, you've planted the seeds in spring, they've grown, and so you've done the hard work to grow them in summer. And then that phase of autumn is the harvest of enjoying the fruits of the labor, right? And then winter is like the middle of the night, is like right before the new moon, the dark moon right before the new moon. That's about rest. That's about letting go. That's about getting rid of what no longer serves. That's about hibernation, right? And these 4 phases that we find in any cycle that we've been separated from because of the patriarchy, when we connect with them, when we can override the patriarchal thinking, everything that we've been looking at so far today, and when we can connect with those sacred rhythms, with those 4 phases, then we can apply those 4 phases to any project that we have in our lives, whether it's our business as a whole, whether it's how we're determining our rates, whether it's a particular program that we're leading, whether it's a type of marketing that we're doing, whether it's team members, right? And this can be applied outside of business as well. Everything runs in cycles. Our romantic relationships, our homes, our health and well-being. When we can connect our lives and the project in our lives and the things that we're working on in our lives to the sacred rhythms, to these 4 phases, everything changes. Things start to move more in flow. There isn't so much tension and struggle. Things can be hard. Things might take time, right? We're not going back into the patriarchal fairy tale that I was talking about before, but we don't have to fight against things so much. Things, when we plug into those sacred rhythms, when we're able to really move with them, we make decisions not out of fear, not out of patriarchal thinking, but from our intuition, from our wisdom, and from our integrity. So really, the patriarchy has robbed us of the sacred and vital connection to nature and life force. And when we're disconnected from this, when we're disconnected from the sacred rhythms, we don't have access to, that universal GPS of the 4 phases of the cycle that allow us to make decisions and take actions and be in flow and in rhythm, all of that, right? It's like we don't know how to harness those 4 energies of the 4 phases. And when we don't know how to harness the 4 energies of the 4 phases, we can end up botching up our projects. We can end up overworking. We can end up self-sabotaging. We can end up putting ridiculous amounts of pressure on ourselves and judgment on ourselves. When we don't know how to harness those 4 phases, those sacred rhythms, we can have a failure to launch because we're not perfect. Or we might lose stamina in the hard work of summer because we think it should just be happening all right away. When we're not plugged into the 4 phases and know how to harness those sacred rhythms, we quit when it's not time to quit, or we keep on going when it's actually time to quit, right? We end up clinging on to things that no longer serve us. When we're not plugged into those 4 phases, we don't hold to our personal boundaries that are so important, or we lose excitement for projects, or we end up comparing ourselves viciously to others, right? And in self-damaging ways, or we never feel like we have enough or we are enough. So take a moment and consider for yourself, and I'd love to hear if you want to share in the comments, what are some of the impacts of the spell of patriarchy and not being connected into the rhythms? How has that impacted your business and your life? I'll give you a moment with that. So how have these things and this disconnection from the sacred rhythms, from the 4 phases, how has that impacted your business and your life? Maybe it's impacted how you set your rates. Maybe you've ended up quitting a project because you haven't had the stamina of summer. Maybe you're clinging on to certain clients that it's time to let them go, or that ideal client, whatever that ideal client description is, right? Like that's not ideal anymore, but you've been clinging on to it. So what is it for you? If you want to share in the comments, You guys are quiet today, but I'd love to hear what you're seeing so far. Or give me a heart or a like if you're with me on this, if what I'm talking about makes sense here. All right, so let's go a little bit deeper into all of this. I want to look even more specifically at the 4 phases and at the sacred rhythms and look at how you can leverage and harness them. So let's talk for a little bit about winter, right? That phase of letting go, that phase of letting things die, right? So in this phase, in the winter phase, we can call it, when we look to the natural world, it looks like everything has died, right? There's no leaves on the trees. It's cold in many places. The days have become, and the light have become really short, and the night has become really long. The animals who do live according to the sacred rhythms, they are connected in, right? They don't fall under the spell of the patriarchy. The plants and the animals and all of the natural world, the animals are hibernating, right? They know it's time to hibernate, to get more quiet, right? And so when we're truly living according to the cycles and the sacred rhythms, then we know that there are things that we're meant to release and to let die so that they can transform, right? So cyclical living, right? So that they can be reborn, or so that something new and more aligned can be born in its place. But instead, because we're disconnected to the rhythms, we cling on to those things. We cling on to those things because of our warped survival instincts, right? Because we feel, again, back to patriarchal thinking, that it's dangerous to have less. It's dangerous to let go of things. We're scared of having less. Or maybe because we don't trust the cycles. We don't trust that spring will come again, that there will be a rebirth, that there will be more when the time is right. Or maybe we don't let go because we are comparing ourselves to others, and it doesn't seem like those people are letting go or ever work less or ever have less, right? Or ever have those quieter moments. Maybe we cling on to things that we're not meant to cling on to, or we overwork, right? Because so much of winter is about not overworking, giving rest. And by the way, this doesn't have to happen if you're in the winter on a certain project. It may not happen in the season of winter. We can be in different phases and different projects at the same time, right? But maybe we cling on because we feel like it will make us less valuable. I've been there before where I knew it was time to have less clients and work less. And there was a little bit fear about having less money, but the bigger fear was that I wasn't going to feel as valuable if there was less for a period of time, right? Maybe we cling on to things that are ready to go into a winter phase because we're scared of the loss. We don't know how to grieve. Literally, in patriarchal society, we have not been taught how to be with our grief, how to sit in the shadows and be with loss. And if you are scared of, or your clients are scared of being in grief or scared of loss or don't know how to sit with it, you're going to cling on to everything for dear life so that you don't have to experience it, right? But what happens when, imagine if the trees would cling on to the fruits, right? If we wouldn't harvest them, and then, the fruits would just get rotten on the trees, right? So it's so important for us to learn those lessons of winter, to have the courage to let things go if they're ready to be let go of, right? So that we don't carry the dead weight. To have the courage to work less when we need more space. To have the courage for things to be messy too, right? all of that. So think about this for a moment. What are some ways? Oh, here's the other thing that when we're able to harness winter energy happens for us. We're able to embrace the mystery, right? Think about winter. Like I said, the nights are really long in winter, right? It's like dead of night. There's not full clarity in the winter phase. One of the things the patriarchy has taught us is that we need to be fully clear on everything all the time. We need to know all the things. We have to be able to see it all. Well, guess what? There's a time for clarity, and then there's a time for mystery. If you're not willing to be in the mystery of winter, you're never going to be able to have new ideas, that are like incredible new creative ideas. You need to get into that messiness of the dark. So what's one way that you haven't been harnessing the winter as well as you could? Think about that for a moment. What's a way that you haven't been harnessing the winter as well as you could? And I'd love to hear from you guys. So I see some of you have made some comments. Yeah, Lori, you're seeing from the patriarchal thinking being overly hard on yourself. I go there too sometimes. All right, let's talk about summer energy and harnessing summer energy. So summer is, everything is fully grown, right, on the trees. The sun is shining, and it's growing everything. We want to be outside. There's expansion. Things are coming to fruition slowly, but it takes hard work, right? So there are things that were meant to grow, and growth happens in the summer phase, but oftentimes we fail to grow them, or they end up stalling, and that's because the growth phase requires effort. In order to really harness summer, in order to really harness the growth phase, we need persistence and consistence. We need resilience, right? This goes back again, patriarchal thinking would have us believe that it should just happen real quickly, right? That's the best, that's what success is like. It just boom, 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 right? But that's not true. Real growth requires effort, and it requires stoking the fires of desire every day, right? We're not always immediately going to see the fruits of our labor. And that's because, again, in this society, we're not taught resilience. We're not taught that growth doesn't always look like an immediate upward arrow. We're not taught how to maintain our desire even when things are hard or even when they feel routine, right? And by the way, this is the reason why so many romantic relationships fall apart during the growth phase. It's like the spring is like, yay, it's new, it's bursty, it's pastel-y colors, right? It's like all of that new energy. And then romantic relationships have to move on at some point to the growth phase. And if we're not taught resilience, if we're not taught how to value hard work, right? Like if it has to be sexy all the time, we're gonna lose interest in an amazing in a relationship that could be amazing, right? So in order to really harness summer energy, we need to harness not like the deeper desire and the persistence and the resilience that comes with that. If we don't harness those energies, then we lose steam on projects or relationships, whatever it is that might really matter to us, that might be really valuable. Or we just follow shiny objects, right? We're always looking for spring, but we're not interested in summer. Or maybe if we haven't learned how to harness summer, we spend we overwork on misaligned projects that aren't really our heart projects. Or we self-sabotage in the growth phase. We don't take action, or we don't take action that's aligned, or we end up overworking, right? All of the things. So what's one way that you're maybe not harnessing summer energy in your life and your projects right now? All right. Let's look at the autumn, the phase of the harvest, as I was saying before, right? This is the phase, it's after summer, where the fruit has grown or maybe hasn't grown, but it's time to harvest. It's time to enjoy the fruits of our labor. It's time to pluck the fruits off the tree and enjoy them and eat them or save them, right? Because we may need some of that for the winter time. In order to really harness autumn energy, in order to really enjoy the fruits of our labor, we need to be able to celebrate ourselves. We need to be able to reframe perceived failures. Because if things don't turn out, if in the growth phase, things don't grow the way we expected them to, then, and we don't see value in what's happened, or we don't, see that there was learning in it or whatever it is, then we can't harvest it. We can't move through the phases and harvest it. And then it's harder to let it go, right? And move into rebirth. So, oftentimes we have trouble harvesting, enjoying the fruits of our labor, celebrating, because we don't know how to celebrate. We don't honor ourselves, or we have